If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schafer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of
the
Mind Pump.
Let's call it Sode.
For the first 53 minutes, we have our introductory conversation. First, we talk about Adam's interview on the Dad Edge podcast. Yeah. That one went really deep, apparently.
Deep. Yeah, since we actually just did this podcast, my phone's been blowing up always. You asked at the beginning of this podcast if I had heard anything yet, and it had just gone live, and so I'm actually already starting to get a ton of messages. So it sounds like a lot of people, it served a lot of people, not just people that have dealt with suicide, but just with their relationship, even with their parents and stuff like that. So good episode.
Good episode.
Nice.
Then we talked about the value of talking and teaching for growth. We know a lot about talking. Then we talked about my ever-rising testosterone levels.
Yeah.
They're getting higher.
You're raging.
And the value of regular hormone testing. Now, we are sponsored by Everlywell. They do have hormone tests that you can do at home. You don't need a prescription. You order it online, comes to your house. Very easy to do. The testosterone level test that I did was saliva. It tested free testosterone. If you go to everlywell.com and use the code MindPump, you'll get 15% off any test. I also talked about my new love for Stan Efferding's vertical meals. I've been
all that monster mash.
Dude, I ordered like 2.
He's got me and Sal on them.
I'm eating them all the time now. They're really good. We are affiliated with Vertical Meals. If you go to mindpumpmedia.com/vertical, you can check out some of those vertical meals. And then we talked about Organifi, in particular, Doug spitting out his green juice. I don't remember what happened.
Sorry, Doug.
That was something Justin said that made him laugh. But it was laughing, so he just sprayed it all over his computer. But Organifi does make organic supplements. They are one of our other sponsors. If you go to Organifi.com/mindpump, use the code mindpump, you'll get 20% off your entire order. Then we talk about Adam's great fall. Another one of those falls, huh?
Was it in slow motion?
Was it slow again?
It felt like it. For sure, because I'm holding on to the TV.
You're a slow faller.
Then we talk about the new supplement company that Conor McGregor apparently is working
Conor,
with.
why?
And partnering with Joey Swoll, some people refer to him as the intellectual of the supplement industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Then we talk about Justin's blisters on his hands. He did a little bit of manual
You
labor.
guys are speculating it's something else.
Yeah, it's true.
It's not.
We talked about sugar consumption and teaching kids how to make better food choices. Then we get into the questions. Now, the first question was, what is our opinion on programs like P90X and the other Beachbody programs? We got really honest in that part of this episode.
Kind of went off.
That's
it was
it.
a little soapbox hour.
Next question. This person wants to know, when going through a MAPS program or any other program, because this applies to all of them, how important is it to do the exercises in the order that they're listed? Is that part of the programming, or can you just mix them up if your gym's busy and the squat rack's not available? Can you go start with your curls and eventually move your way through? How important is exercise order? Next question was, this person wants to know more about designer steroids and Prohormones. These are, believe it or not, steroids that were available over the counter. I think some are available now over the counter.
They were the rejected ones.
Are they safe? Are they effective? Should you buy them or should you not? And the final question, how much do we think the human psyche affects weight loss? Like, what percentage of a person's success has to do with their psyche?
It starts in the mind.
Also, I want to remind everybody, this month, MAPS Aesthetic, this is our bodybuilder, physique competitor, and bikini competitor inspired program. It's really a program designed around maximizing aesthetics. What are aesthetics? Well, it's what makes it look good.
Muscle definition.
Now, this is one of our programs that actually has a lot of flexibility. You get to pick and choose the areas of your body that you want to really, really focus on. Because, of course, some people might need more shoulder development. Some people might need more back development, more glute development. So you get to determine what are ideal aesthetics for yourself. Plug those into MAPS Aesthetic, and you've got yourself a great program. Well, that program is half off. 50% off all month long. Here's how you get it. Go to mapsblack.com and use the code BLACK50. That's BLACK and the number 50, no space, for 50% off. And we also have other MAPS programs that you can look at. You can find all those at mapsfitnessproducts.com.
T-shirt time!
And it's t-shirt time.
Oh, here it is. Bring them on.
And we had a ton of reviews on Facebook, again, outweighing iTunes by 4-1.
Good job, guys.
Excellent.
So we'll start out with the iTunes winners. We have Courtney B126, Robert Blackwell 4, GMAC 4TJS.
Yeah.
And on Facebook, we have Katie Inkster, Sandra Grumet or Grumet, Darren Marquardt, John Lankway, Savannah Valencia, Corey Adams, Nico Sidorakis. All of you are winners. Send the name I just read to iTunes at mindpumpmedia.com. Send your shirt size, your shipping address, and we'll get that right out to you.
I told Katrina last night that looks like me with a child. People like that more than they like photos of her.
With a child?
She's still been the record breaker for if I post any glimpses of Katrina,
I see. Everybody loses their mind.
Yeah. It's like, oh my God, she's alive. She's a real thing.
Yeah,
right.
She's not your girlfriend from Canada.
Yeah, my supermodel from Canada.
The glamour shot that you keep in your wallet.
Yeah. I like to keep her
Bro,
like that, right?
I like seeing you with the kid too.
Oh, Jesus.
Do you know why though?
Did you?
Do you know why? You want to know the truth?
Why?
Very
It
fatherly.
has nothing to do with, wanting to see you fucking, sharing
Suffer.
everybody. None of that stuff.
you want to see me suffer?
I've known you now for over 3.5 years. I think you'd make an exceptional father, and there's not enough exceptional fathers in the world. So it would be whatever child chooses to be your child would be blessed.
Well, speaking of fatherhood, I got to give a shout out to Larry Hagner over at the Good Dad Project. He just posted a very, very serious interview with me. It was literally titled, the suicide, like it was all about my father's suicide. So those that are listening right now, it's a very heavy one. I don't recommend it for everybody. Like, if you don't have somebody who is contemplating that or has you've dealt with it in your life, I wouldn't listen to it. But if you're somebody who has dealt with that or has contemplated it yourself, I think it was a pretty...
Have you got any messages?
It literally just went up this morning.
Went up this morning.
Yeah,
Wow.
So we'll see.
Was that hard for you? It's not hard. You've processed it.
Yeah, it's not. Katrina always. It's funny. Katrina told me the other day. She's always like critiquing the fuck out of me. She listens to all the interviews, and she's like, "I think we need to like condense your story." And I'm like, "Yeah, I agree with you." I said sometimes I feel like, and I don't know if it's the interviewers that are interviewing me that don't know where to take me, but I think I have such a big wide story that to try and tell it all, I just kind of glaze over things. And she's like, I hear almost every interview somehow someone figures out or finds out the suicide thing, and then they just kind of like go over it. And you're so nonchalant about how you talk about it that it's like that was. So I think you should almost not talk about it unless somebody who's wanting specifically to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to condense my story into just like my fitness journey and like pick it up at like 20 years old.
You just got to keep telling it. The more you tell it, the more
refine it every time.
the more effective it'll be, and the more
it's funny how that works, right?
Yeah.
It is. Talking is a form of thinking and a form of learning. So is writing.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is why if you want a kid to really learn something, one of the most effective things you could do is have them
teach it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have a child teach it. First off, it gives them a sense of purpose and responsibility because they're teaching other kids. But it also forces them to learn what they're talking about at greater depth.
It's great that you just said that because this is exactly what I said to her. I said, there's so many more lessons that I learned from 20 on where when I got into the real workforce and had to work with others that really taught me that. And it was a strength of mine later on. At that time, I selfishly was doing it because what I picked up on really quick was anytime I would learn something from somebody, if I would go and teach it to everybody else, like it would only make me better at whatever it was I was teaching.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like that in fitness. And in fitness, it's different. Like we're in a very competitive type of industry and space when you think about it. When you put a group of 15 to 20 trainers in one facility, it's like we're all fishing from the same pond. Mm-hmm. And to go tell the other guy what bait everybody is using, or this is the best bait that everyone's catching, is kind of like it's kind of counterproductive, you would think, because it's like, oh god, and so you
that's
have
the natural way to think.
It is the natural way, and so there's a scarcity mindset within most, I think, gyms. I think you have the elite trainers aren't going and telling the bottom feeders, oh, like you should say this or you should do that or don't do this, don't do that. They're mostly concerned on refining their skills and being better and better at it. But that I wasn't like that. I was so naive and I was so humbled coming in that I was 20 years old. Everybody was older. Everybody was smarter. Everybody was more experienced. I fucking knew that. I wasn't trying to pretend like I wasn't. So I was eager to learn from everybody. Everybody that I learned from, as soon as I learned a little bit of something that I was like, oh, that stuck or that worked, I then was teaching somebody else. Like, oh, I did this. And so
you're a sharer.
That really sharpened my own skills.
Share.
Yeah, I'm a big sharer. Yeah. Sharpened my own skills, and then it also made me this ended up making me this great leader because I wasn't afraid to do that. I think more people in our space, if they understood that, I think they would see themselves accelerate much faster.
Oh, yeah, if this is why talking helps so much when you have a challenge or a problem. When you talk, how many times have you talked to somebody and you have an issue or a challenge and they don't give you any advice, they're just listening to you, and at the end of it you're like, I know what I need to do.
Right. Well, your best therapist, that's what they do.
Exactly.
They just ask the questions,
Because what happens when we think or when we feel things in our minds, sometimes it's not organized because it's surrounded by emotions and feelings. But when you writing things down is also very effective. But when you're writing things out or you're talking about it, you have to organize your thoughts and you have to identify truly how you feel about certain thoughts. And so it allows you to move through the process of processing what is going on. And this is why teaching is so effective.
Well, and then like the feedback, right? Even if it's just body language or like expressions, like I just pick up on that immediately from people. I'm just like, look, I'm reading as I'm saying things. I'm like, oh my God, this is going nowhere. It's going nowhere. Abandoned. But it's great because it refines it every single time, and you get to the point where you need to go.
Well, this is what made the podcasting and especially YouTube podcasting, not so much because I have you guys. But I was telling this to Danny. So Danny Mantrega is...
is it Mantrega or Mantrenga?
Mantranga.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a Topanga. That's why.
Mantrenga.
Yes.
He doesn't even know
I bet Sal had a crush on her.
He did know. He did know
what Topanga was?
Yes, I was actually impressed with that.
Wow. He's like, dude, he reminds me of myself in one way. He's old for his age.
He's a lot like you.
You know what I'm saying?
Not one way. He's a lot like you.
Yeah,
There's a little. I like him. That's why I like him a lot. I'm really excited. He's going to be featured in our YouTube real soon here. So shout out to Danny. Danny is on Instagram. He's Dynamic Danny. Really proud of this kid.
He's not Mind Pump Danny yet?
No, he was Mind Pump Danny, and he switched. Switched out there.
Whatever.
So that was probably a dumb move, Danny. But
come on, Danny.
What's wrong with you?
Danny.
No, he was. He's been trying to move away from just training privately to more the virtual world, and he's been doing a hell of a job doing that. And I've been watching.
He's an
him.
exceptional trainer.
Yeah,
exceptionally well.
Dude, did you know I had him rattle off his certs? I think he's up to 33.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah,
he's been on a tear lately, just getting educated. I love it. Man.
What I like about him is he's able to communicate what he learned very well. Because I've known trainers with a million certs who couldn't teach shit because it was very hard for them to convey what they learned in effective ways. He does a very good job communicating, which is one of the main reasons why he's on our channel. I'm gonna
give Mind Pump some credit for helping him out with that, though. Yeah, I heard him talk on his Insta story the other day, and I thought it was an incredible point that he made. I think it's important that you have the ability to talk at a higher level and understand at a higher level, because there are times where you're going to communicate to doctors and engineers, and I think as a trainer, it's important that you can talk on that level, or else you're going to have a really tough time training clients like that expect that or want that. But they're really the minority. They're maybe 3% of my clients were the doctors or the engineers. The majority of the world out there, they don't want to learn all that stuff. They don't want to know that detail.
Well, you got to remember what the goal of communication is. You're trying to effectively convey a message and a feeling or a feeling, right? And so if you talk super abstractly or real complicated, lots of words or complicated words, you're not accomplishing your goal of communicating to a lot of people. You're just sounding, maybe they think you're smart, maybe they think you're pompous, but you're not really effective. Here's the thing. You're always communicating when you're talking. It's what you're communicating that's important. Is your goal to communicate your ideas to the person, or is your goal to communicate to someone that you know a lot of words?
Yeah.
And so if your goal is to communicate, you know, a lot of words, well, then congratulations. That's what you're accomplishing when you sit there and talk about, you know, things in a super highly technical level. But if you actually want someone to understand what you're the information and the ideas and the emotions and the feelings, well, then you need to. An effective communicator is like a chameleon, and it knows how to adjust how they say certain things depending on their audience. That's what makes somebody an effective communicator. That's also what makes someone an extremely effective salesperson. And I went through, you know, bouts of towards the end of my career, most of my clients were doctors and surgeons and, you know, scientists and engineers, just the location of my facility. And then those are the people I started to attract as they started referring people. And you better believe my conversations changed, and I loved it. It challenged me, but it was at a much, much different level of, you know, when I'm communicating, you know, scapular retraction to a surgeon, I'm talking very, very technically. They understand that. When I'm talking to the average person, it makes no sense to do that whatsoever. No, at all. I'm not.
Which is a majority of the people you're speaking,
most
especially
people.
When you're on like a platform like this or YouTube. This was a challenge for me. I remember when we first started YouTube, the insecurities that I had while speaking to the camera was what's in my mind is not that. What was in my mind was my peers and academia is going to rip me apart if I don't say this correctly.
Sure.
If I don't,
you want to sound like you know what you're saying.
Right. I want to make sure that I'm credible. I'm on this big.
You're going to become a meme on somebody's page,
right?
Or whatever.
And so it took me a while to have the zero fucks attitude about it. Like I don't give a fuck about those 5 people, you know.
Yeah.
And they really. And the unfortunate part is those are the 5 that are more likely to comment. Right, because they want to feel special, you know, or their butt hurt.
I caught you here.
Right,
that's inaccurate.
Right, or they don't have a channel, and so they want to feel like they're important, right? So do something like that. But in reality, the 250,000 people that watched it, you know, got a lot out of it.
I believe you were searching for the term tibial tuberosity. That's the attachment of the.
I mean, I get people that critique when I refer to like an angle that my elbow is at, and they're like, "That's more like a 15-degree angle, not a 30."
Well,
It's like
these are the same guys.
Oh, wow.
These are the same
We're doing
guys.
geometry now. This is great.
These are the same clowns who will comment on a picture of a like supermodel and will say something like, her nose is too pointy. Yeah. Listen, bro.
Ugly fingers.
Yeah. If she walked into your room right now, you'd jizz in your pants. Shut your face. Dude, speaking of jizzing in your pants.
Whoa.
Nice transition.
Bro,
you set yourself up for that one,
dude,
sir.
Can I say something right now?
Yeah, please do.
I'm going to test my testosterone again. Because
is it through the roof,
bro? I think I'm in steroid levels of natural testosterone.
No, you're not.
Bro, so here's what's going on here. So
I don't know. I'm gonna get the Everlywell test.
Oh yeah,
out
that's
again.
the only way to know.
It's time to test it out.
That's
again.
the only way to know. But I've talked about this in past podcasts. If you haven't listened, just give you a quick rundown. Tested my testosterone. I was within the normal. I was in the middle of the normal range. And
now, when you first the Everlywell test that you took, the very first one, which one are you? What kit are you?
Just testosterone.
Just a pure testosterone.
Yeah, the second one I did was
Men's Health one.
Men's Health, which includes testosterone, has DHEA, cortisol, and estradiol. So I took one, and my testosterone levels were in the middle, which is theoretically fine. But the tests are so easy to take. They're at home. You do them with saliva. They're accurate. They test free testosterone, which is what you want to. Register. You don't really, total testosterone doesn't matter as much as free testosterone because that's what your body actually uses. So I did the test first time. I'm in the middle, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I feel like normally my testosterone level's higher than that. And I wasn't sure. Am I just identifying with this because I'm, trying to be like this, super, dude or whatever? But I'm thinking about it, I'm like, let me see what happens if I change a few things. And the 2 things that I changed were. I reduced my cannabis consumption, so I was using it every night, and I know that high doses of cannabinoids can cause a reduction in testosterone in animal models. So I brought that way down to like two nights a week instead of 6 nights a week or 7 nights a week. And then the other thing I did was my gut health was much better, and so I was able to increase my calories and eat more carbohydrates. And so I tested it again, and that's when I had the Men's Health test. And my testosterone levels doubled. So not only they didn't just go up, I went from the middle to slightly out of range at the top.
It was crazy how much you jumped.
And I could feel it. I was like, this feels like my own
You were
self.
above normal, weren't you?
Yeah, I was above it.
You were in the like crazy range.
Yeah, I wasn't crazy, but it's like
See,
above.
I need to test again because like the first one I screwed up. I brushed my teeth, fucked up my whole results. Second one, I was in the middle. But I need to do it again because, dude, ever since like I've been getting better sleep. Like again, I had like when I got back from Scotland, I stopped taking the edibles as much, and then I've been working out more consistently, like with that PRX downstairs, and just been lifting weights. Like I'm feeling it. I'm feeling a lot more energy and drive lately.
See, that's my point and the point I'm about to get to. So I took that test. It's much higher. And what I've done now is we had Stan Efferding on the show recently, and he talked about his vertical meals, which are super convenient, right? They come to your house. It's bodybuilding.
How are you
food.
liking those?
I like them.
Yeah.
I just spent $300 on. I got 20 something more of them.
You actually went for it.
I'm ordering all the breakfast.
Yeah.
So I definitely, the breakfast is way better than I would have anticipated. I would never ever think, because when I make eggs and reheat them, they're just bleh. But the breakfast with the sweet potatoes, the eggs, a little bit of cheese on it is money for me.
It's not bad.
Breakfast is the hardest thing. I'm notorious for waking up, cup of coffee, I'm on my way to work, and then it's
not bad. It's good. It's good quality. They're not super cheap, but that's okay.
You did well,
quality.
Stan. You did well, sir.
So what I've done now is I'm continuing to ramp up my calories. I weigh like 202 pounds, which is heavy for me. Heavier for me than I have been in the last maybe couple years.
Thick.
I'm feeling strong.
A little snack.
And my libido is silly.
He's a full snack.
Yeah, my libido is silly right now. It's like out of control silly. I feel like my old self. It's really nice.
Now,
we were at a wedding. I'll tell you this. So we were at a wedding this week. So Jessica's friend, Jessa, got married. Jessa and Paula. So it was.
Are you tell like a bathroom sex story right now?
No. It was almost.
You went to a lesbian wedding.
I did. I did my second lesbian wedding. It's the second time
I've been to one. That was fun.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great ceremony. Everybody there is super nice. Of course, lots of lesbian and gay people, which is whatever. It doesn't matter. Good people or bad people, it doesn't matter. We had a great time. Everybody had a lot of fun. But like I said, my libido's been through the roof, and we were drinking, and I'm looking at my girl, and I'm like, she's like, hey, are you tired? And I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to go home. I know what I want to do. I want to go home and have crazy sex, have crazy buzzed sex. So
do you tell her this, or are you keeping it undercover?
I'm kind of like, and I'm like,
the lesbian wedding, you really did it.
No, that's not what it was. That's not what it was. You almost made Doug spit out his mouth.
Don't lie, bro.
He's nervous. Come on, man. I'm just being honest.
Doug just spit out his organic green juice all over his fucking. That's like, I love it when commercials make themselves.
Yeah.
Right? He's drinking the green juice, spits it out everywhere. So we get home and we have I won't go into details because it's way too personal.
Wow.
But it was.
Usually you do.
It was insane, insane sex.
So when Dr. Cabral was here, didn't he recommend that we do the men's health one for a certain reason? I believe he was saying that you want to check multiple markers with it. I
think it's just more information, and it's gonna be more. Here's my advice to people.
He said something that I gotta go back and watch that video because he did bring something up.
Here's my advice, dude. My advice is because the thing about testosterone levels is you don't know unless you test them. So number one, I think it's important for men, especially if you're young, to test your testosterone so that you know if it's going down as you age, because it's hard to know. Like I felt mine was in the normal range when I first tested it,
right.
But I know how I normally feel, and I thought maybe that's low for me. But there's no way for me to know.
No, that's
how do you get back to that prime, peak?
No, this is
your testosterone.
This is a very good point, and I wish that I would have taken this in my mid-20s for that exact reason. Even when I felt normal and fine, like I do not think this is just a test for somebody who is only not feeling good. Like you should take this now so you know where your normal levels are, because I know where I'm at right now. So I've now got myself back up into the very low normal range, but I still know that I'm not where I know what it's like to feel like when you're in a good range.
Yeah,
when I'm in my normal range, right? Which that unfortunately I don't have a number because I never did that.
See, it's hard,
and I regret that because it's like you could go see a doctor. If I would go see a doctor right now, and he depending on who the doctor is, might say, hey, you're fine. You're totally fine. You don't need to take any sort of testosterone. You're in the low to normal range. You're still normal, so you're healthy and fine, and yada yada, and leave me alone. but I know I'm not. I can tell by my energy levels throughout the day, my motivation to work out, my libido. Like, it's very obvious to me that I'm not where I was before.
See, that's why what I'm about to say, I think, made me really think about this, because I'm going to do another test because I feel like I brought it up to another level, or at least maintain the high level. I just feel really good. Part of it, again, nutrition, I think it plays a big role because now my calories are higher. But I think a great strategy for a man, and women can do this as well, and women are more interested in what's like their estrogen and progesterone balance. That's what's more important for them. But for men, I think it's important that you test yourself, maybe, 3 times or 4 times, maybe even as much as 6 times a year, and maybe not every year, but as you go through different phases of your training and different phases of your diet, to know how each of those affects your most important anabolic hormone level. You know what I'm saying? So like if you're really, really serious about your fitness, and they're inexpensive, the tests are not expensive, and they're done at home, so it's super convenient. And because of this, I think it would be a wise strategy where, let's say you go into a strength cycle. Okay, let me test my testosterone 3 weeks into the strength cycle, see how that affects it. Cool. Okay, now I'm going to change this variable with my diet or my sleep. Let's test my testosterone again, 2 months later or 3 months later. Cool, that's where that is. Oh, I'm under a lot of stress right now. Shit's going, let's see where my and you can see where you get a broad picture, and you might even be able to put this on a graph for yourself of your fluctuating testosterone levels, and take notes on what's happening in your life and what you're eating and how your sleep is and how your training is. I think that'll give you a really good picture of what's effective.
You talk about that just for, giving yourself feedback with your training and stuff like that. I can tell you too, I see a major importance in it for communication with your partner. I mean, I have a girl that has a very high sex drive, and typically I would be also, and then I go through this, down trend, and if I wasn't taking that and I wasn't able to communicate that to her, it would definitely cause, it still causes ripples in the relationship even knowing it.
Sure.
And so if you're a man and you're going through low testosterone levels like that, and may not know it because you got stress at work, you got all this shit going on, and then on top of that you have a wife or a partner who now is wanting sex and you're just not in the mood or whatever, that can put strain on a relationship if you can't communicate why.
Of course, because they may be thinking, is he not into me?
It's exactly what I think. I don't care. And Katrina will to testify to this, because she knew, and she goes, thank God I knew that, because I still felt that way. It's hard as a woman, she says, to not feel, if you don't want me, to not think it has something to do with myself.
You know what it is? It's the because I've had these conversations with Jessica's like Katrina in the sense that she's got a very high high drive, and we've had these conversations before, and she'll say, part of the problem is the belief and stereotype that men always want to have sex all the time, that they're these walking sex factories or whatever. Yeah. And if they say no,
we are.
And if they turn it to see, but it's not always true, right? If you're really stressed out, if you and it happens more as you get older, just because there's more life shit. I'm not even talking about declining testosterone and all that stuff. It can just be that you're fucking stressed out. It could be that maybe you are angry at your partner. It could be that your mind is on other things.
You got the runs.
And so that's right. Yeah. And so
these are the only things that make Justin not want to
thing. That still doesn't
I've had the flu, and I'm horny.
Yeah, it's scarcity. Yeah. But
it is
a little bit. But you know what I mean? It's a little bit of that. And so it's important to communicate. If your testosterone levels are low, then you can show your partner so that they don't think like, oh, okay, cool, it's not that, has nothing to do with me. Testosterone's actually low. Let's work on trying to get that higher or whatever.
Yeah. You kind of glazed over Doug spitting out the Organifi commercial, but I wanted to take a quick moment just to tell people that we're having trouble in the last week. So I get a report every single week on, Organifi sales and this and that. I'm always watching the numbers, and we had this huge decline this last week for some reason. I thought, what the fuck is going on? And then I see on our forum a bunch of people, I guess, had a hard time with
getting the discount code.
Yeah, our code was down, and I don't know how many days.
Did they fix it?
It is fixed now. Okay. Doug said it's already up and running, back and running, but I don't know if that was a 24, 48 hour or even a week long.
We were making too much commission. They shut it off for a second.
Shut them down.
Yeah. So it's fine now. So if you had a problem trying to put in the mind, just so people know too, like I get a lot of DMs regarding any of the products or things that we talk about. because I know we don't push real heavy on the advertising. You don't see it on our social media. We don't drive to codes. It's always Mind Pump. Like Mind Pump is always the code for any product. So if you're buying a product that we've talked about, it's
just Mind Pump, and it's usually no space. It's usually just Mind Pump.
Right.
I want to ask you now that we're on the podcast.
So shiny on that
I've
thing.
wanted to ask you so bad when I first saw you hobbling in the front door.
Such a dick.
So, Adam, I'm doing I was at the front this morning, and I was going
hobbling.
I was going through and picking questions for this episode, and I was in front of the red light, and I looked through. It's hard to see because the red light, the Juve light's so bright, right? So I'm looking through, and I see this shadow. And I'm like, it's got to be Adam because he's kind of tall. Like, but that doesn't walk. He's not walking like Adam. Like, who the fuck walks like that? It was Adam. And I'm like, what happened, bro? And it's like, I fell down the stairs.
What?
Yeah,
You didn't tell me that.
What happened, dude?
Jesus Christ.
You fall so much.
I feel like our fucking friend Lane Norton right now. Fucking injuries every 3 months.
What happened, dude?
I fucking
Dog
was
toy or what?
So last night, big game last night. Chiefs versus the Patriots. What an incredible game for those that watched that game. Chiefs are 5-0 going into this game, and they beat the Patriots already. They're playing the Patriots again.
Wow!
And ended up being a 40-43 ending in just an incredible game.
Damn.
So, anyways, the reason why I bring that up is earlier in the day I'm watching my football, and so this year I haven't. I promise I'm getting to the ankle rolling. I know everyone's like, "What the fuck are you talking about with football and stuff?" Well, I've decided to break the cable chain and go to streaming everything. And so the one knock I have on streaming is when you're doing live sports, especially like the Red Zone channel where there's multiple streams coming in, it's shit. It sucks, especially if you have a 3-story fucking place like I do where the Wi-Fi is down below and I'm all the way upstairs watching it in the TV above. The reception just keeps...
It's too choppy.
It's too choppy. And so all morning long I'm bitching and complaining, and Katrina's trying to figure it out with me, and we're calling fucking our internet fucking service and asking them what we can do to make it better, and I'm grouchy. Like that's my thing. Like football is like my football season's my time to bond with my friends. Yeah, so I get so mad about it. I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to take the TV all the way downstairs. I got a big fucking,
You just carried it down?
So I got this big fucking TV that I just bought.
I can 100% picture this.
And I'm upstairs, and I'm like, we are not watching the game tonight, the night game, the Chiefs and Patriots, and not having good reception. Like, we were going to solve this issue. Yeah. And so I bring the TV down the stairs, and I have, again, 3 flights of stairs. And I'm on the last flight, and I think I'm on the bottom. I'm not on the bottom step, so I'm one.
So you're ready to just walk flat.
Yes, and I miss, and I'm holding the TV, which is why I rolled it so bad, because there's no way I'm dropping this brand new TV. And if I didn't have a TV in my hand, I would have stumbled, got myself together. But instead, I'm so worried about balancing the TV that I missed the step and I completely roll the ankle all the way over.
Is it swollen?
Yeah, it's swollen and bruised today. It's not. I mean, dude, I'm a basketball player, so I've rolled my ankles probably 100 times in my life. It's not like a level 3 sprain. It's probably like a level 1.
Bro,
maybe
you fall
2.
a lot.
Fuck off,
man. I'm serious. Since I've known you,
he's a professional faller.
Since we've had Mind Pump, but hey, every time you've fallen, it's been a minor injury. So maybe because you have practice.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you don't include the Achilles, that was definitely not minor.
Because you fell off the stair, you fell off the ladder.
Yeah,
that
one did a number on you.
That was my favorite.
Man, and what's crazy is I don't.
You felt like Shaquille O'Neal. On
I don't consider myself somebody clumsy at all, but this is just it's always a situation and an asshole move on my part. I mean, I remember when I fell off the ladder, it was like I'm standing on the top rung and I'm trying to lift this fucking thing above my head. Like, any logical man would have seen that and been like, that's not a good idea.
Well, no, it's like fucking, it's what guys do. That's why we always hurt ourselves.
Well, Justin posted that picture of did you see that where the guy had a ladder?
And it was on top of these Home Depot buckets.
It was like a 20-foot ladder, and then it was balancing on 4 buckets.
Yeah. What is it about?
As he's like changed the light bulb.
It's so funny because on the way here, I was listening to the intro of one of our latest episodes, and we had just quietly mentioned the time, and we don't need to get into detail. I don't want to get in trouble. but we quietly mentioned the time we 4x4'd the car that we had.
Had to bring that up.
And I was dying in the car. I don't know if anybody really picked up on it.
I don't think so.
Because we
no,
barely mentioned
we didn't get
it.
any mentions of that.
But I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, so here's a story, and I'm not going to go into detail again.
We're kind of assholes.
We're not going to get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah.
But we were somewhere on a business trip,
right?
And we were in a big fucking
rental car,
big old Suburban. I wasn't going to go that far, Justin, but that's fine.
What do you mean? It's better that way, isn't it? It's not like we borrowed somebody's.
We were in a big ass Suburban, and randomly, we're just fucking driving in a parking lot, and randomly, I don't know who came up with the idea.
No, it was because it was one of those long parking lots, and it's if you didn't make the right turn into the right one, you had to
like
go
10 minutes to get back.
Yeah, well, not that long, but you would have to turn back around, and
it was like another 30 seconds.
It felt like 10 minutes.
You had to do a 3-point turn, and Adam's just like, I don't remember who said it. Like, just drive over, and all of us were excited.
Like,
drive
dude,
over
just do it.
Just fucking drive over the median. And so we all we fucking just started driving over
fucking curb jump
mediums and fucking grass and bottomed out in the fucking car.
Yeah.
And we're doing and I'm thinking to myself, like, we're a bunch of grown.
Yeah, that was like a teenager move.
We're not kids, dude. We're in our late 30s.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing? And I'm thinking about it's like, this is the shit that.
It was fun, though.
It is. This is the shit that guys do.
It's all them social constructs got me to do that.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah,
nothing
weird.
biological.
I know.
Did I tell you guys the last time I fucking egged a house? Did I tell you guys about this?
You were older, weren't you?
I was like 30. Okay, I was like 30 years old.
And you were egging a house.
Yeah, I don't know why I did it.
Were you at least with other kids?
I was with other men,
like old men.
Yeah, dude, we're all the same, and we're all laughing and joking and fucking, making jokes and talking about. Oh, remember we used to egg houses? I'm like, you gonna fucking egg a house? All right.
Fuck yeah.
Could you imagine the embarrassment of getting caught?
Let's smash pumpkins neck.
As a 30-year-old throwing an egg at a house.
But if you're really clever, which I think you are, if it were to happen, you would play it off. Did you see those little fucking kids just run by
They
here?
ran away.
And for sure, an adult would totally believe you.
Like,
they would not think some 30-year-old man is throwing fucking eggs.
What the fuck? I'm
We
pretty
just still think we can do things.
That's like vandalism. What the fuck am I doing? Stupid.
So listen.
Listen.
Listen,
Linda.
Listen,
Linda.
Lisa.
Listen, Linda.
Linda, listen.
Linda. Listen. So those that are OGs will remember this because I brought it up way back when. After this
kind of hurts my heart.
After the strange fall of Shreds out of nowhere.
Yeah, very mysterious.
Right, the mysterious fall of
Even
Shreds.
though they're still around.
I don't know if they are.
In Europe,
Dude, I was trolling them hard on their website and like talking to representatives. Yeah, but it's a totally different group of people.
My theory on that is that they've built up so many supplements that they're just like selling it all off. Right?
Yeah,
God.
yeah,
it's like they stand
fire
for,
sale.
We're looking at their site right now, and
for her.
Yeah, and they just stand for everything that I despise. Branched chain amino acids for women.
Yeah,
branched amino acids
it's
for
different.
men.
So those that don't know the backstory on Shreds, Shreds was started by Arvin, Joey Swole, and then what's his name?
Mike the Situation.
Mike the Situation. So those are the three main guys that really
real stable group of guys.
Yeah. I wasn't going to do a jab like that, but okay.
No, I will.
So the three of them started Shreds. Shreds blew up to be a multi-million-dollar company and worldwide, and just crap supplements, brilliant marketing, and then eventually kind of crashed, at least over here in the U.S. It might still be doing things overseas. And Joey
they had bodyguards going into these fitness expos. That was pretty cool.
So Joey Swole has broken off, and he broke off, and I talked about this on the show at least a year, maybe 2 years ago, and I put it out there. I was like, oh, check this out. And I said, this guy is now doing Rise supplements, RYSE.
Yeah.
Let's just create something and spell it wrong. This seems to be fuck.
So, but it literally looks like they have carbon copied the same formula as Shreds, just rebranded it. And now what I saw today yesterday, it blew my mind. I tagged the boys in it. Is they have obviously Joey's got some money because he was able to get Conor McGregor as one of the front men, which
this literally pains me.
I don't think he has the money in the sense that he's paying him a lot. I think McGregor has ownership. McGregor is the kind of guy, he wants a piece of the profits.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if McGregor has shares in the company or has some kind of profit sharing.
And I'm sure he'll make a bunch of money from it too, which also pains me.
McGregor can sell anything. The guy's a superstar.
Well, he sold out of his whiskey before.
Nonetheless, I am a big Conor McGregor fan, and I'm completely disappointed in his
that was a shit move.
Decision to go with this company. I think it's crazy that, and you know what, it's going to explode. I've already watched it on social media.
They're going to sell so much,
quadruple already in size.
Oh man!
So it's wow. I mean,
it would have done better. Rise. I mean, it should have just been boner pills.
And if Joey gets to hear this, like this is not hate on you, man. Here's the deal. Like,
let's look at their supplements. Maybe they're better than.
No, they're not. I already looked at all of them.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I already did my before I talk shit. I did my homework on it. They literally, it looks like a carbon copy of what Shreds has done.
Really? Yeah.
And this is kind of this Ponzi scheme is very, very common in this space. Like,
it's a hustle.
Yeah, you build something up and then you can...
Oh, wait a minute. They have the boom stack.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, boom
Look at the Notorious stack.
What's Notorious? I want to see what the Notorious...
Notorious stack is got to be...
I know, but I want to see what is in it. You know what I mean? Okay. I want to see what's going on. So there's protein. Let's go through all the different... let's see. Protein. What else is in there,
Pre-workout.
At the top there, Doug. There you go. First time on the internet.
Branched chain amino acid,
$230.
So BCAAs, which we've already found out by now, everybody knows by now that they don't do shit for you as far as taking
if
them.
you eat adequate protein, you might as well.
And if you're taking a protein powder,
it tastes like peanut butter
top
cup.
of your,
just take your dollars and stuff them in the garbage.
Protein powder, BCAAs, pre-workout, and then I don't know what the other one is.
Yeah,
is
I can't see what else.
Just those three. There's way more than that.
There's got to be. It looks like there's
Electric
7 bottles.
Lemonade.
You know, here's the thing about supplements, and this got me a bunch when I was a kid. When I was a kid, if I saw a supplement stat, okay, so BCAAs, hold on, time-released fat burner, okay, that's obviously garbage. Testosterone booster, okay, keep going. Vita Focus, so it's a multivitamin. That's always a great way to throw in something extra and get yourself look at that, and they have a little pop-up. Their marketing's brilliant. And their packaging looks good. You know what I mean?
No, Shreds did a great job of this. So they literally, he's going to do exactly what he did there. And this just goes to show you the power of media and how you can take someone as big as Conor McGregor, attach it to something, and by default, you're going to see this company rise up.
This is a time-tested formula for selling lots of product, is creating these mega stacks.
I can't wait till this dies. We're
I
now.
thought it did, but
it won't.
It won't because it's too. It'll blow up too fast before people even hear this podcast.
Right.
So it's just unfortunate that we still live in this time, but I believe this time is dying. So those people that are using this formula where they just switch and bait and switch on products like this. And if they will run this one in the ground and then turn it around and do it all over again. It's just
let's keep going.
Crazy.
We'll see what happens. Justin, what's up with your hands?
Dude, I have blisters like all over my hands.
Heavy masturbation.
Yep, that's what I originally thought.
It was a big time weekend for me.
No.
I did manual labor all weekend. One of my neighbors was like doing everything outside. Like he was like making everybody look bad. His place looks amazing.
I hate those people.
You know what I mean? Like the landscaping, the tree trimming, the digging of whatever the fuck. So I was like, well, I can't be, the house on the block that looks like shit. So I was outside literally for Saturday, Sunday, just constantly just digging all this like excess amount of leaves and everything that have fallen for the last like 2 or 3 years, dude, just stacked everywhere. It was grueling. I forgot how fucking grueling it is, like doing all that shit. Oh man,
God, it's you know what? The thing about manual labor is it sucks, but it also when you're done, don't you have
rewarding.
A sense of pride?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yes, I did.
Yeah.
I have to do something manual once every 5 years. I figured if I do it once every 5 years, I feel manly.
Yeah.
If I do it more than that,
that's your qualification.
Yeah. If I do it more than that, I'm like, this just sucks.
I just can't have somebody right next to me like showing me up.
Yeah.
That pisses me off.
Do your boys help you when you do all that?
Loosely. Like sometimes, like they'll start with good intention and like they sneak out, and they're doing something inside. I'm like, hey, what the hell? Where'd everybody go? And then, but actually, my oldest will come later, and he actually probably sticks with me the closest and keeps helping, contributing.
I would be afraid where you live. I haven't been to your house yet, but I know you live near the woods, and you have all these leaves stacked. Aren't you afraid you're going to scoop out like spiders and shit?
There was a lot of that.
Oh.
Yeah, lots of spiders, critters, like mice. Like I found this whole like community of mice in the stump. And I was like, oh shit, that's where they're all coming from, because they would go and steal chicken food all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So what did you do? You have to put poison there?
I mean, I put traps, the ones where you snap them and you snap their neck. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
there you go.
Poor little mice.
Dude, I wanted to give you guys, sorry to change subjects on you. I wanted to give you guys a random stat that I had read the other day I thought was crazy. Did you know that according to the USDA, that the average kid under 12 consumes 49 pounds of sugar per year?
Wow.
Pounds.
49 pounds of sugar.
The averaged under 12.
Under 12.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Alarming.
Dude, that sucks, man.
Can you even visualize what 49 pounds of sugar looks like, and to think
it's all probably in their beverages,
Bro,
that's the easiest way to
I was around, I don't want to give too many details, 'cause I don't want to call anybody out, but I was around, some people that I know, and one of the people that I know, he himself is quite overweight, he definitely obese. 2 kids, and his boy is, I don't know how old he is. He's maybe 11. And the boy himself is obese. The daughter's a little bit overweight, but the boy is definitely obese. And we were all, eating and stuff. And I'm watching how this kid or these kids are eating. And it's just, there's no structure whatsoever. No. So it's all about, this kid at this age was eating 2 or 3 full plates of food and probably drank 4 full sodas, the whole time. And then, and it's like,
yeah,
you got, in this world that we live in where this stuff is so available and so plentiful and so palatable, your kids are not going to make it out successfully if you don't give them structure.
Yeah,
they're given boundaries.
They're not smart enough to know. They don't know. At that
it's
age,
your job
they don't know what addiction is.
No,
you don't know what. I felt the first level of addiction when I talk about the painkiller addiction that I went through, and that was in my fucking mid to late 20s before I even knew what that feeling of being addicted to something felt like. And now I look at things like even like sugar for me, and there's no doubt in my mind that my body has this addiction to it. There's 100% no doubt.
Well, so I was reading another article, and I don't remember specifically what it said, but because what they've done, if they've gone through and they've tried to calculate why kids are getting so obese, and they're saying, okay, initially it was, kids were way more active when we were younger. That's one of the main reasons. But when they calculate out the estimated calories, they find that it's not due to activity, it's due to food. Now, I do have an argument against that, because you know how they calculate calories. And I read another recent article that says that kids are significantly weaker today than they were before in terms of strength. Mm-hmm. And we know what happens when you lose strength. Your metabolism slows down. Right. So they're less active for sure. Kids are not outside playing like they used to. But they also have less muscle.
Yeah, they're
which
not
means
doing the right type of activities.
Their metabolism is much slower, because what kids traditionally do when they go outside and play is run, climb things, pull themselves up on monkey bars, push themselves off of things. It's lots of body weight resistance type stuff that happens naturally. Kids don't go outside and do long distance running. Yeah. They just don't. They'll do running in between things, but they're doing lots of climbing, pushing, whatever. Kids just have more muscle and more strength back then, and their metabolisms are faster. So when you combine the fact that the kids, that they're inactive as fuck, they're sitting down, at their computer, on their iPad, or on their phone a lot of the time, if not most of the time. Then on top of that, you throw, the fact that they're eating more calories, and the food is hyper palatable, which is going to encourage that, and the food quality is probably not that great. What a recipe for disaster. And the kids that grow up that way, the odds that they'll become adults that will be obese is overwhelmingly high. It's something like an obese kid has got like something like an 85% chance of being an obese adult. Like a very small percentage of these people will lose weight as an adult and then change their health. It's like they are done Their trajectory has been
they
set.
Cemented it.
There's very few things a kid can do that will guarantee that, like give them an 85% chance of being anything. And one of them is if your kid is obese and they develop these bad habits as a kid, then they become solidified as a behavior. And we all know this. Think of all the things you did as kids that, was hard to break as an adult, like behaviors that you had as a child that were hard to break as an adult. Maybe you had, an abusive household, lots of fighting. How hard is it to break as an adult when you have your own relationships, for example, right? Very difficult. Well, the behaviors you learn as a kid with your nutrition and your activity level are that, and then you can add more on top of that because those are fundamental behaviors. Right. You're guaranteeing.
And they're not shamed by a lot of people too, so that's the other thing. I mean, it's one thing.
Social pressures are
you grow up in an abusive home, and you're already, as a kid, you're already setting yourself up for a very high percentage that you will follow in the same path. But that's not even socially accepted, and so there's
other outside.
Yeah, there's other outside things that are going to affect it. But you talk about food that we justify because we need food to live. It's not shamed if you have an ice cream cone or if you eat a little bit bigger serving or you decide you're not going to go out and exercise for that day. So, talk about an even more challenging thing that a kid is going to have to deal with as an adult.
Well, it's tough because it's like, you use the word shame, and people will use the word shame in a way to make it, because there's bullying, right? And there's negative, and there's things that can actually make the problem worse, like a kid, being picked on for it or being ridiculed or just relegated to the fact that they're obese and that's it. That's all their importance. That'll probably make things worse. But I think what you're referring to, Adam, is the social pressures of behaviors that we have found and deemed to be
normal.
Yeah, behaviors that help promote health and promote, right? And behaviors that make you bad or unhealthy, I should say, or a detriment to society, we tend to look down upon. So it's like this. Look, if you saw a kid smoking cigarettes, nobody would get upset with society saying, hey, you shouldn't be smoking. But for some reason, when kids are eating a particular way, and I know it's touchy, but it's like nobody wants to say anything at all. We're super afraid to let the kid know, probably not a good thing for you, buddy. Like, that's probably not good for you. And I agree, we need to communicate it in a good way.
Right.
In an effective way.
You can't tell a kid, put the cookie down, so it'll make you fat.
No.
Right.
No, you make the kid feel terrible about themselves, and then now their best friend is food. And that's what's going to,
Right. It's just the lack of education and communication. That's all it is. It's a lack of understanding on the parents' part of what they're really setting them up. Because I guarantee you that 90% of the parents that are listening right now that might have a child that struggles with being overweight, I don't think any of them. If any of them really understood what they were setting their kids up for, I think there would be more effort put into educating themselves to then educate and help them.
You know why it's hard? It's hard because when you have a family, if you want your kids to eat differently, you have to eat differently. Mm-hmm. That's why it's hard, because parents, they can consciously, and I think that they consciously make themselves ignorant. A lot of them, I honestly do. I think they consciously ignore things, because if you really sat down with them and said, hey, do you think that's a good thing that your kid is eating that way and has all these risk factors, that are increase their odds of having, decreasing their quality of life in adulthood? Do you think that's a good thing? Most parents will be like, no, I think you're right, and I need to do this, that. The reason why they don't is because they know they have to do it for themselves in order to make it truly effective. And people are really they don't want to. It's a very, and look, I have empathy. It's a tough thing to change, but god damn, man, if it doesn't motivate you for your kids, I don't know.
It's that whole instant thing. Like we just want to instantly make them feel better. A lot of times, like as parents, you want to, your kid to be happy and like have a good day and like all this kind of stuff where they just don't want to be uncomfortable. You don't want to go through that process of now, the kid's like even more upset, right? Because they didn't get that immediate thing that they really, really wanted at the time. And it's like sometimes it's just like, well, I just don't want to deal with this, and then that becomes a perpetual thing. That's like, now it's like, now you're feeding into that need, and you're not delaying the gratification, teaching along the way, and getting them set up for success in their nutrition and just making better decisions.
Yep. Connect it to how it makes them and you feel. Include yourself in the conversation. So you're talking to your kid, and you say, kid says, hey, mom or dad, how come there's no more potato chips? and you say, well, the reason why I don't buy those anymore, or I'm not buying those anymore, and be very clear. The reason why I'm not buying those anymore is because they make us not feel as good. It's not really good for our brain health and our physical health. And I want to start to really feel better and have more energy for myself. And, because I care about my family, I want everybody to feel better. So I'm just not going to buy them anymore. We're not going to have them. And that's it. That's the conversation. You're going to get some pushback or whatever. Don't talk about being fat. Don't talk about you're worthless or whatever. Just say, yeah, sorry, kid. I'm not buying them anymore. It's just not good for everybody. So we're not going to have them. And that's it.
The scary part is that, we have two major things that I see going on that are going to continue to compound, and I think is going to be a major discussion in the next 10 to 15 years. And that's the nutrition in kids combined with this, gaming addiction and phone addiction that we have happening right now.
What a scary combination.
Yeah, these are the very scary combination. And we really haven't seen them together in children ever before in history. Go back 20 years, and this wasn't a combined problem, and the food is accelerated, right? So the food,
everything is feeding into impulse.
Yeah, and it's really, really, and I don't think we're gonna wake up until we see a whole generation of really fucked up people from not giving a shit about that. We're gonna have. That's just how we are as humans. There's a lot of people that are listening that I don't give a fuck, aren't going to put the effort into it, or there's a lot of people that don't listen to this show that really that are just completely oblivious to it. And what's going to happen is 15 years, we're going to fast forward 15 years, and there's going to be a lot of parents that allowed their kids to just fucking consume the iPad and drink sodas and eat candy, and we're going to see a lot of shit happen, and then you're going to hear everybody
we're so
trying
worried,
to backpedal.
Everybody's so worried about how their kids feel. I want my kids to feel good all the time, and this, that, and the other. Your state of mind is not as good as it can be if your body's in poor physical health. If you're not moving appropriately and properly and frequently enough, and if you're feeding yourself terribly, you can have all the most positive reinforcement. You could have all the great, you could study hard. You're not going to be performing in the best way you possibly can. And your physical health definitely affects your mental health. We know inflammation is connected to anxiety and connected to depression. And that's an inflammatory state that your kid is in. And that's the state of mind that they're going to develop their mind in. This is a very important thing to understand. If I take a fit and healthy adult and they then go on a 2-year spree of eating terribly and not exercising, they're going to know the contrast. They didn't develop their mind in the state of mind of poor health, or in that state of poor health, I should say. Now, when you take a kid, all they know from childhood up is this poor state of health. You know how hard it's going to be as an adult for them to treat their potential mental issues like depression, anxiety. It's going to be very hard. They don't know what it's like. This is how I've always been. This is what's normal for me. Very difficult to change those behaviors at that point. So
true.
It's very, very important.
This Quaz brought to you by Organifi. For those days you fall short on getting your organic veggies or whole food nutrition, Organifi fills the gap with laboratory-tested certified organic superfoods to help give your health and performance the added edge. Try Organifi totally risk-free for 60 days by going to Organifi.com. That's ORGANIFI.com. And use the coupon code MINDPUMP for 20% off at checkout. First up, C. Ornis. What is your opinion on P90X and Beachbody programs?
Oh, did you pick this question? Did you pick this question?
C. Ornis.
You know
just
what?
Just to stir the pot?
Well,
Enos.
they are the probably top selling, fitness programs, online
Commercial
programs.
fitness
Let's
product.
And I'm
here's a great way to put it. We see them, right? And we see the amount of the pie that they own.
All of it.
And we realize that's part of what made us realize that we really wanted to go into the program space, because if that's what's leading the space is P90X and Beachbody programs, there's a fuck ton of opportunity to help a ton of people.
Yeah.
To help a ton of people with really legit good programming. Because when I see P90X and I see Beachbody programs, what I see is a brilliant marketer that is really, really good at internet marketing and also has somewhat of a fitness background or knows somebody who's in fitness and put them together.
I mean, let's just go down the board. The household names of anything. The reason why you know about it is because they're brilliant at marketing. People that like really pay attention and are technicians in the space that are like personal trainers and see clients day in and day out are fucking terrible marketers.
Yeah.
And so that kind of information just has not made it mainstream. And so that's why we're just like on this mission to bring you guys people that have quality information because they're just not good at that shit.
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with all the programs, but I'm familiar with a few of them. I've had clients who've come to me through the years and say, oh, here's a program that I was following before, and this is what I've done in the past. And it's basically what they're catering to is the intensity mentality and the variety mentality. So we're going to give you a bunch of different things and exercises, make it really intense. It's going to look really cool. It's going to be good music. And people like to buy that. But the programming's just terrible. It's absolute garbage. Well, and it's what they know is exercises. That's what they know, but they don't even know exercises.
They don't even know
well.
good exercises.
Yeah, they don't even know like really good technique and how to teach them. It's literally watch this video, do this movement. It's going to beat you up and make you really sore.
What they did was they marketed to our insecurities. The fact that us as humans like to be put in boxes, we like to be categorized. It's just like the dating websites you see now, right? If there's farmers.com, there's blacks.com, there's whites.com. It's like there's Asians. It's that we've separated all of these categories, and the Beachbody has done this for fitness. It's like the cowboy workout. Like the hip hop urban workout. It's like, what do you think they're fucking doing? You know what I'm saying? They're like, there's a workout that should be different for cowboys and urban people. What the fuck is that? Like that's literally it's a marketing strategy. It's a marketing strategy because they know that when you see that, you're going to identify with one or the other more so. And it has nothing to do with your results.
And it's all about fun. Like, our videos are fun. It's new music. It's different. Like P90X, they valued the whole muscle confusion thing. So every workout's totally different. It's super intense and it's all fast and it's terrible. The programming's terrible. If you follow these programs consistently, you're going to move a lot. You'll probably burn a lot of calories because you're moving a lot. Risk of injury is going to be high. You're not going to create good, favorable recruitment patterns. You're probably not going to build a significant amount of muscle or metabolism. If you're in any state of HPA axis dysfunction, you're probably going to make yourself worse because they're all intensity-based.
The addiction of that.
It does. It's really...
Well, and the debate is someone's going to tell you, this is the argument that you're going to hear, well, Sal, what about the hundreds, maybe thousands of testimonies that I've seen in regards to these programs? And here's the deal. If you are completely out of shape, you don't eat well, and you follow any structured program,
better than the nothing.
Right, and you eat well for 90 days... you are going to see results, and some people more than others. And when you're marketing to millions of people, it's really not hard to find a few hundred or even 1,000 that saw great results from it.
These programs are the processed food of fitness programming. That's what it is.
100%.
So like processed foods, highly palatable processed foods, most of the money that goes into making these foods goes into making them
the
packaging and how palatable they are.
Yep.
And they look at everything from the smell, the crunch, the taste, the feel, how it sounds in the box when you shake it, how many are in the box, how the wrapping is and the colors and what's going to sell more of their products. Very, very little goes into the actual nutritional value and potential health benefits of their food. Very, very little. So with programs like P90X and Beachbody, most of the money goes into the marketing and the packaging and how good it looks in terms of when you open it and it looks really nice and it looks really clean and it looks really, really fun. Very, very little, if any, of the money goes to programming. And and I know the time that they spend on programming is literally around, let's make this as fun and as difficult as possible. I don't see really, really good instructors and trainers and coaches doing their programming, and if they are, they're not doing it with a lot of integrity. Yeah. You won't find a single good personal trainer with a lot of experience who is going to come out and say, "Oh, these are great, great fitness programs."
I don't know any.
Well. Changed my life.
I don't know a single personal trainer that's been personal training for more than 10 years that is teaching their clients Beachbody or P90X as a program. It's it's absurd. And
now that being said, there's a lot to learn from them, right? There's a lot to learn in terms of how they market them, how they're able to get them in so many people's hands.
Well, let's be honest. They're used as an example with our marketing team. When we sit down every month, we meet with our marketing team and we go over everything that's going on behind the scenes of Mind Pump, and this is a constant battle back and forth because they've proven the model of online digital programs and have made a fuck ton of money doing that. So of course, our marketing team looks at that and says, well, let's look to somebody who's done this really well, and they're trying to get us to do things similar. And there's a lot of pushback that comes from us that, listen, we respect that they're doing a lot of these things really well from a marketing standpoint, but they're an example of why we got into this space, because we see that there's lots of opportunity to truly help people the right way. And so we have to teeter back and forth between, okay, well, we got to compete with them. So part of the things,
but we're not doing a Zumba course.
Right.
Fuck, that's where I put my foot down.
It's funny because I remember when we first started selling the first MAPS program, we all looked at the market for fitness programs, and I was talking to some fellow podcasters, and I won't say who they are, but they were asking me about creating fitness programs that they could start to sell and monetize. And one of their concerns was, they said that the space is flooded. They said it's saturated. There's so many fitness programs out there. How can we possibly create a program that people will want to buy and that will do well? And one of my points was, yes, it is a saturated market if you just look at the surface and see how many people are offering fitness programs. But it is a totally not saturated market. It's dry when you consider all the ones that are programmed well. Yeah. When you're talking about programs that are programmed well, that are done by coaches who understand how to train the human body and how to work with people, that understand all the variables and factors that need to be put into a program to make it work well, you're super limited. There's very, very few that are really good. You have Starting Strength, which is a great foundational strength program. That one's decent programming. Mike Matthews, he's got some decent programming with his programming. Then you have the powerlifting in Olympic lifting type programs, which in those fields you have to create good programming because you've got a bunch of competitive athletes, and they'll tell you right away that sucked, didn't get me any stronger. But when it comes to fitness, general fitness, general muscle building, general fat loss, there, Ben Pack's got some good programming, but that's it. I can't think of a lot. The vast majority of the programs that are out there are pure shit and garbage. Every program I've ever seen in the magazine, like Shape or Muscle and Fiction or Fitness or whatever, all the programs I've seen on the bodybuilding websites, the fitness websites, I've seen there's a lot of them that are out there, and I go and I buy them and I read them, and I can tell right away if somebody who's coached and trained lots of everyday people has written it, or if it hasn't been. Yeah. And either here's the two things I'll find. The vast majority of the programs that we've looked through, we look at and we go, well, it's obvious this person's never worked with a lot of people.
Even if it's clinically accurate, right? I've seen programs out there, you get a real scientific, clinical approach to it, but you could tell they have never trained anybody in their life.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because it's either 80% or 90% are this person's never trained anybody. They're just putting together a bunch of exercises to make it hard. Their goal is just to make a hard workout. Yeah. Or there's a small percentage where you can see and you say, okay, this person wrote a decent program, but it's for a very specific, percentage of the population, and they're competitive. Whatever, competitive bodybuilder, competitive powerlifter, competitive Olympic lifter. There aren't very many that are out there that you look at and say, wow, this person has trained a lot of everyday people who are average, who want to become more fit, build more muscle, burn more body fat. Super, super rare. And here's the thing, it's kind of hard to do because there's so many variables and factors. I could do a whole podcast episode on all the things you need to consider when you're writing a program for the masses. And the second thing is, you also have to consider you want your program to just sell a lot, and a good program isn't always the most flashy one. You know what I mean? It's not always the most sexy one with a bunch of random movements and jumping and shit that I can show in my commercial for my program to make it look like it's exciting, because most programs that are effective have squats, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press, these foundational kind of, exercises. So I can understand, why it's difficult, but geez.
Well, it's also, this problem is also perpetuated by the people within our space and our industry. And I'll quote one of our good friends, and I'm going to continue to give him shit about this because I remember the first time that I was explaining to him how Mind Pump planned to monetize, and I said there's great opportunity for programs, and he kind of scoffed at it and said that programming is like ice cream flavors. And I was just like, ice cream flavors? How the fuck is programming like ice cream flavors? I'm like, it's not like that at all. That's the problem with the space, is everybody thinks it's just random ice cream flavors, and tasting them all and trying them all is a great thing. Like, no, it's absolutely wrong. And that's how all these fitness professionals are treating it, is like, I'm going to become a trainer. I know what I'm talking about. Now all of a sudden I'm going to throw all these creative workouts. Like, no, that's not what's effective. And that was where we saw lots of opportunity. Now, I think where we see good programs, and there's probably more, even more than what Sal named, is because when you name like a Ben Pekulski, or you name Starting Strength, like these guys, what these guys did was they're targeting a very niche group. Like, if you want to be a bodybuilder, like I think Ben Pekulski is writing incredible programs. I think, and if you want to be a strength athlete, I think like Jordan Shallow, like if you want to be a power lifter, like Jordan Shallow is putting out incredible material. Like they're speaking to a very narrow group, and they are fucking incredible at programming. What you don't see is, you don't see somebody who is trying to program for the masses and then be able to do that really, really well. The way they treat the masses is they just need to move more. They just need to move more and burn more calories, and they need to eat better. If they do that,
mentality.
It is. And it's like, there's a lot of things that these people should be taught.
Calories in, calories out, man.
Yes.
I would say it took me about, honestly, to be quite honest, it took me close to 10 years of training. And think about all the people that I've trained over 10 years, right? Because I've been doing this for a long time. It probably took me 10 years to get to the point where I could really program really well. It took me a long time. It takes that much experience of work. And why does it take that much experience? Because people are so different. It just took me that many people of training for me to learn over and over again, okay, this applies to these types of people. This doesn't always apply to these people. To the point where now I can train someone, and 9 out of 10 times, maybe 10 out of 10 times, but definitely 9 out of 10 times, I can take them through a workout and have a very good idea of what exercises to use.
The first 2 years I was training, I had to literally write out every single one of my clients' workouts the night before. And I had to sit and study and like figure it out and see what was like most applicable, most appropriate. That took me a long time to refine. And then on top of that, like, okay, now let's eliminate like the fact that I have to live and die off of this workout plan I have scheduled for them. I have to create flexibility. I have to be adaptable, and so it's just literally just time and hours and variables, and seeing how this all like plays out like that. That's huge.
Well, to add to you guys' point too, along these lines, like I'll give you a tangible example of like where P90X fails at this. Over the course of the entire time that I was training clients, if I were to like categorize like with the majority of them probably fell between the ages of 30 and 55, and that's probably just because it costs X amount of dollars to have a personal trainer in the first plot, so you have to probably be in a pretty stable place. And in that age group of 30 to 55, most of them were, high stress jobs, overweight, had children, had all these things going on, had a bunch of, had upper cross syndrome, battled lower cross syndrome, had some sort of an injury in their life. Like, this is people.
The average person.
This is the average fucking person. This is like 90% of the people that I train. P90X has plyometrics inside there. Yeah. They have ice skaters. Okay,
a lot of these people don't even know how to get off the ground.
I could count on one hand how many people in my career that I have trained and showed them how to do ice skaters that weren't a specific athlete. Like I mean, for sure that's a great athletic move for a lot of people, and there's a lot of carryover for my athletes that I train, which was a very small percentage, which is probably 1% of the people I train. But then outside of the athletes, there was probably 5 people in my entire career that I taught ice skaters to. Now, that's such a challenging movement that you're doing explosive that just has no business. That person has no business doing that.
It's not even the risk injury, although that's high.
Right.
It's the fact that if you can't move that way, you're just going to create bad patterns.
You don't know how to generate force.
Yeah, it's a waste. It's a waste of time.
It's a wash. Like there's so much more you need to learn.
You'll get the same benefit by sitting and running in place.
Right.
That's it.
The real benefit you're getting from them is they're hard. They're hard and you're burning calories, and that might help you lean out and lose body fat. But when I think about if I'm doing this body a good service, I would not be doing the body a good service. So that's the problem with a lot of these programs, is they're not taking into consideration the masses that are probably taking this program and going through it. You're really not doing them
No, it's all about the instructor performing it. Yeah, you can perform that well. Great. Good on you. Right. Like look at your general audience. Like they hire models and actresses and fitness people to perform all this shit, and they don't have anybody in front of them that's like your average person that would just be like falling all over themselves, and like it would be a clusterfuck.
I would like to watch a video of average people doing P90X workouts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'd like to watch those videos. Actually, I wouldn't. It would be very difficult to watch because I would see so many problems and issues.
It reminds me of when I used to walk by, and I was a part of a gym that had a large, what they called Group X class, which was your aerobics type classes, and they taught kickboxing and boxing and Zumba and all these things. And I'd walk by and I'd see a classroom full of 50 to 60 people following a sometimes fit instructor in the front that was teaching all these random moves, and I see all these people doing it horribly because they have all these poor mechanics, which is normal as fuck. Okay, it's not. I got bad mechanics. I don't belong in those classes. Like even with all my experience, I know jumping around and spinning around back and forth and moving really fast and bouncing is not ideal for my body. In fact, I should be addressing the breakdowns. If I'm going to really improve my overall life, if I'm going to eliminate the low chronic back pain that I have, if I'm going to get rid of my achy knees, if I'm going to get rid of my forward head and upper cross syndrome, and along the way I want to lose body fat and build muscle, that is not the path. That's not the path for me, nor is it the path for 80% of the population that's probably purchasing those programs.
Next question is from Nike and Addy. When going through a MAPS program, how important is it to do foundational exercises in order? I like to mix them up if I'm waiting for a machine to open.
It's interesting. I get this question relatively often where people ask me because the gyms tend to be busy. So if the workout starts off with a barbell squat and all the squat racks are taken, they want to know if they can go start with something else. The order that you do your exercises is part of your programming. It is a factor that will help determine how well your body progresses, adapts, gets stronger, builds muscle, burns body fat, all that stuff. It's a factor. So what you want to do when you look at your workout, and the reason why we call it programming, if you know anything about programming a computer, when you program a computer, if I take any of that program and remove it and insert it in another line of the programming, like if I take the end of the programming and put it towards the front, changes the whole thing. Mm-hmm. The program is no longer the same program, even though it has the same
syntax
formulas or whatever in there, right? So it's the same thing with your workout. We write them in a particular order because that's how they're effective. If you mix up the order, it changes the way that the workout works. Now, this doesn't mean that you always have to do a particular formula. In fact, we encourage people, once they've learned their bodies and once they've gone through the programs that we've written, the way we've written them, to mix things up to because there's individual variants all over the place, right? Everybody's a little different, and you may find that a particular order works better for you than another order. But go through the way we've written it first and try it out for yourself. But, just to give you kind of some basic advice when it comes to order of operation, when it comes to exercises, generally speaking, not always, but generally speaking, you want to start your workouts with the big compound movements first, and then you want to move down the ladder to the smaller isolation type exercises, generally speaking. Right. And you want to start, of all your compound movements, start with the heaviest ones typically first. So your workout's usually going to start with, if you're going to do all the foundational movements that we like to talk about, like squats and overhead presses and bench presses, either going to start with a deadlift or a squat. Now, why is it important to start with those? versus starting with the
It's
isolation
about
movement?
managing your energy appropriately, and it's about performing a high skill exercise to the best of your ability and not being under fatigue. So, I mean, these are very important factors because, the risk versus reward here, it's very high risk. And so we want to make sure that we put the most attention while we're the freshest and, our focus is the freshest it could be at that point. So
That's right. And also, these big gross motor movements are the ones that are going to send the loudest, adaptation signal, building muscle, burn body fat, strengthening signal. And so you want to do those most important exercises first in your workout. And studies have confirmed, by the way, what you do in the beginning of a workout is where your body's going to adapt the most. So what I mean by that is, like, they've done studies that compared, cardio before a workout, before weights, and weights before cardio, and to see which types of adaptations people get if, with all things being equal. And what they find is when people do cardio in the beginning, that they're going to build more endurance for the cardio than they will for strength for the weights. And when they do weights first, they're going to build more strength for the weights and less endurance because the weights was done first. So when you're doing an exercise like a deadlift, and let's say down the line, later on you're going to do in that workout a dumbbell pullover, which is more of an isolation exercise for your back, and a deadlift is more of a compound, big gross motor movement with a lot of back activity. If you do the deadlift first, that's the exercise that's going to send the loudest signal anyway. And so you want it to be in the beginning. You want it to be in the beginning of the workout, and you want the isolation workouts at the end, because those signals, although they are important, aren't going to give you as much of a bang for your buck. Now, that being said, are there times when it's appropriate to do the isolation exercises first? Absolutely. Especially when you're trying to correct a muscle imbalance, or you're trying to feel a muscle work in a compound movement. So again, another example would be, if I have an issue feeling my pecs when I bench press, a bench press is considered a gross motor movement, a big compound movement, then it may be a good idea to sometimes do flies first, get the pecs fatigued, feel myself connect to them, feel the pump of my pecs, then go bench press. Now when I bench press, I can position myself and move in a way where I'm going to hit my pecs a little bit more. So, but as far as, order is concerned, that's important. It's all important. Just like how many reps you do is important.
Well, I think it's really important when it comes to the things that you just said right now, which is the compound lifts. Like, you don't want to be doing, cable tricep push downs and bicep curls and then going over later on and doing deadlifts. It's not going to serve you as well. I mean, you being able to, because it's inevitable if your arms are all pumped and tight and fatigue, when you go to do a deadlift, it will hinder it a little bit. It's how much? It depends on, there's going to be an individual variance, but let's just say it keeps you from lifting 50 more pounds on your deadlift than you could. Well, that's 50 more pounds that you're going to get way more adaptation or way more strength gains from that deadlift that you would have gotten had you done the deadlift first. So I think it's really important when we talk about the compound lifts first and then moving over to your isolation type exercises, unless you're doing something specific like you're saying, Sal, then it does matter. But I mean, it's also okay that if this happens every once in a while in a workout, because as a trainer, I remember working in a packed gym at 5 p.m. at night, and I know I wanted to get my client to do squats first, and then I just didn't have the capability, and so I'd have to improvise. So I don't think it's going to kill you if you do that every once in a while, but I think it is ideal to try and follow the program. Something that we suggest to everybody is try and follow the program to an absolute T through it at least one time, so you can learn all of the basics and learn the programming, and then from there manipulate and play with, and you'll start to piece that together yourself, why we did put a lot of these movements in the order that we did.
Yeah, it's to the untrained eye or someone without experience, it looks like the same. Like, what's the difference? I'm doing all the exercises in the workout.
Right.
What's the difference? I'm still moving, I'm still sweating. It makes a difference. It's much more complex than it looks on the surface, and all these things determine the effectiveness of your workout. And if you want to just go in the gym and sweat and burn calories, which a lot of people, it's like we talked about earlier in regards to the Beachbody programs, you don't need programming to do that. You can just fucking move. You can literally stand in place, jump and spin and wave your arms around and grab dumbbells every once in a while and kick your legs. And that's going to be the same thing. You're just burning lots of calories. But if you have a specific goal, if you want to speed up your metabolism, if you want to build muscle in the most appropriate way possible, if you want to burn body fat in a way that's maintainable and manageable over long periods of time, then how you do your workout and the order you do your workout and the exercises that are chosen and the reps and the tempo and all these things play a role. And so when you enroll in a program like MAPS, any of the MAPS programs, we wrote them considering all these specific things. And so follow them like they're laid out, try them out. As you get good at these things, you start to learn your body, then start playing with individual, factors within the workout to see how you feel by changing things up.
Next question is Kane74. I'd like to hear you talk about designer steroids and Prohormones.
Oh, Prohormones. Ooh. That was a huge market for a while.
It was, dude.
Do you guys remember
counter stuff?
Do you guys remember when Androstenedione?
Bro, Mark McGuire, bro. Mark McGuire. That was.
Oh, he made that popular.
I believe it was him who made that so popular because when he blew up, and
he said it was the Androstenedione.
Yes.
Man, have you got those kind of results? Can you imagine?
Dude, but I remember being a young kid who was also into watching baseball at that time and also just kind of really working out and going, holy shit. He must have sold millions
so
of that.
Yoked.
Oh, dude.
Oh, my God.
He was a skinny guy.
I love McGuire,
Very
too. It's like,
guy.
oh, shit.
He went from skinny to jacked.
If you look, maybe Doug can pull up Mark McGuire's rookie year. Yeah. And then what he looked like 5 years later.
Him and Jose Canseco just went.
Oh, dude. Yeah,
dude,
they went ham.
Huge difference. They added like 60 pounds. It's like 60 plus pounds. Maybe more.
It's because I'm taking when the market first started.
You're rubbing notion on me.
When it first started kicking in, there was some laws that were passed that said that if things occurred in nature, they could be sold as a supplement, unless they were specifically prohibited by government. Wow, look at the difference there. That's like a 30-pound difference.
More than that,
muscle.
probably.
Oh, ridiculous.
Yeah, you could probably do Mark McGuire before and after steroids and get a more contrasting.
Because he got literally jacked.
It looked like his arms were going to explode.
Yeah. So, when this market first started, there was a law or something in that passed that said that, like I said, if something occurred in nature, you could sell it over the counter. So the first Prohormone that was really sold was DHEA, which you could still buy over the counter. Now, DHEA is a prohormone in the sense that your body takes DHEA, and through different conversions, it can turn it into testosterone. It could also be turned into estrogen and other hormones. And so, when I was here I am. I'm this kid. I'm taking supplements, and I'm looking at the market, and I know that DHEA is a hormone, but I also know that steroids build lots of muscle, and that's why bodybuilders are so big. So I'm fucking excited. Like, oh shit, DHEA, it's a hormone. I can buy a hormone over the counter.
Yeah.
So of course I bought it and I took it. Now we all know that if you take a bunch of DHEA, you're not going to build more muscle. It's not going to do anything for you, unless you're an older person who maybe has low levels of DHEA. Not going to do anything for you. Then the next one that came out was Androstenedione, which is the one that Mark McGuire said he took, which is bullshit. He was obviously on a shit ton of anabolic steroids. Now, Androstenedione was special because Androstenedione was one step away from testosterone. Mm-hmm. It needed one enzymatic conversion to turn into testosterone. And so everybody was like, this is going to be the real one. And I remember buying it. I remember buying bottles of the shit and taking a ton of it. And what I got from it was nothing except for a little bit of gynecomastia.
Yeah, little bitch titty.
Because your body will convert it to testosterone or estrogen, and the one it's going to lean to is actually going to be more towards estrogen if you take a shit ton of it, especially if your testosterone levels are already high, like 18-year-old or 19-year-old Sal's testosterone levels were when I took it. Did nothing for me. And so for a while, the prohormone market was full of these, hormones that needed to be converted in the body to be turned into something that was effective. And then the fucking supplement marketers and companies got real fucking smart. And what they did is they went and they studied abandoned steroids by pharmaceutical companies that kind of passed through the loopholes in the law that would allow you to sell them over the counter. So what they literally did is they went and studied like which hormones were being studied by pharma companies that got abandoned in 1964, 1970, whatever, 19 whatever, 80 whatever, and they're active. They're actually active like testosterone, but these pharmaceutical companies abandon them because of the side effects and shit like that.
Right. Giving tumors and all the rats.
Keep that in mind. You have anabolic steroids like D-bol and anadrol, which for sure, if you take high doses over long periods of time, can cause things like liver cancer. Not good for you at all. Those the pharmaceutical companies sold. They abandoned the other ones that supplement companies picked up on. So just to give you an idea of the safety profile of some of these
This
things.
was the hustle for well over a decade.
Dude, it was big time.
It was and it was a talking about, I think it was this episode where I talked about the whole Ponzi scheme where they would find this steroid or this abandoned steroid that is on the black market, and they say, okay, we disapprove of this. They would pick it up, they would turn it into a supplement. And because it wasn't already listed as an illegal drug, this is how they could get away with it legally.
Sell a shit ton of them.
This is where the term designer steroids or prohormones came from. And then what they would do is they would sell tons of them because you would take it as a kid and you would see a difference.
They fucking work.
Yeah, you would feel a difference. You would definitely put some size on or get the side effects from it, like Sal's saying. And I remember even kids getting like acne and stuff like that, and it would be like, oh shit, it's working. That wouldn't slow you down from doing it.
Fuck no.
It would be like, it must be like the real thing. Right. So you would take it, and then eventually it would get big enough. They'd sell millions of it. Word would get out. Then they would come down, crack down on it.
And find another one.
They would ban it. Then what happens after they first ban it? Then the price goes double and it becomes under the counter, right? So then
you got to go on eBay and buy it.
Right, or you go into your local,
locked up in the back cabinet.
Your local Max Muscle GNC type of place, and you say, hey, you still got that Andro 1, that freaking, and then, I got a few left under here.
Super Test 5
then
million.
they were hustling. I mean, there was a lot of big supplement stores that got cracked for this, that were selling all the stuff that was illegal.
So I went ham on this stuff. Remember, I was a kid. Of course, everybody knows my story, why I started working out, and because these things were effective, and because I was super into supplements, I studied all of them. There was one that converted in your body and was turned into boldenone, which is the anabolic steroid equipoise. There was one that's called the most powerful one. I remember this. I remember when 1-testosterone came out. 1-testosterone is an anabolic steroid. It's a derivative of DHT, so it's very androgenic, but it's also anabolic, and it made you strong as shit. And I remember buying this stuff and taking it, and I gained like 10 pounds in like 2 weeks. It was insane. I was holding hella water, but I was strong as hell. Yeah. And I was like, wow, what is this stuff? Gaspari had his Haladrol 50, I think it was called, or whatever. Hopefully we'll have him on the show. I'd love to ask him about that, which was another one. But here's the thing. They weren't safer than steroids. Many times they were worse for you.
Right.
And because there's anabolic steroids, they shut your testosterone levels down. And then there's nothing that's over the counter that's really effective at post-cycle therapy. So you'd have all these kids go on these designer steroids, then they'd go off of them, and then they'd go through like 2 or 3 months of feeling like shit, being depressed, testosterone levels are low, they're no libido, they're losing muscle like crazy, and they can't get their hands on what bodybuilders will do for post-cycle therapy, like HCG, which is prescription only, Nolvadex or Clomid, which are prescription only, Arimidex, which is prescription only, which are what you want to use as part of your post-cycle therapy, which isn't a perfect cure anyway. It's still difficult. But now with these kids, they don't even have access to that. So they take this stuff, and then for post-cycle therapy, what are they taking? Herbal test boosters and shit. It's a fucking nightmare. It was a total nightmare.
Yeah.
And my advice on the designer steroids, because what's funny is they're starting to do this again. They're starting to find loopholes again and get kind of crafty with it with the internet. Oh, yeah. My advice is that
this is what reminds me of
like SARMs, right?
Exactly. Yeah. This is what reminds me of, instead of this being as popular, I'm seeing the same.
That's the new hustle.
Is the SARMs, and that the same thing is what makes me weary about that. Like, fuck, man, I don't feel good about using something that just hasn't been around long enough for us to see the side effects.
The benefits of the advantages of the designer steroids were that they were over the counter, so you're not breaking the law, okay? Yeah. And you're not dealing with the black market because steroids in the black market notoriously are fake or underdosed, or you're not getting what you're paying for and all that stuff. That being said, if you get your hands on real like testosterone, and you have your hands on a designer steroid, Real testosterone is going to give you less side effects and probably be safer for you than the designer steroids that you'll find over the counter. Now, word of caution, first of all, I don't advise anybody do that. So that's not advice I'm giving anybody who's listening. But if you do something like that, you do decide to break the law, or you do decide to put your health in in your own hands in terms of the risk and all that stuff, make sure you understand what to do when you go off, because that is not a fun place to be. I experienced this myself. I would do cycles of this, like I said, methyl masterdrol was one of them, and another one was testosterone and halodrol. And then I'd go off, and it's like you just want to go back on them real quick because you just went through this period of building muscle, feeling amazing. Then you go off of them, and it's like everything you gained just gone because your testosterone's in the tank, and you feel like garbage, and you don't even want to work out anymore because why am I working out? It sucks. I can't even get a good pump. And so it's this terrible like on and off type cycle. And you do that enough, and I'm sure you can probably increase your risk of permanently lowering your testosterone levels, which we know a lot of guys like that,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Next question is from Amanda Kamula. How much do you think the human psyche affects weight loss? Do you think someone who is body positive has an easier time achieving their goals than someone who hates their body?
Wow, do I ever.
Yeah.
I think this is something that I'm really passionate about speaking about to not only clients, but even on this show. I mean, I think this is a point that we try and drive home so much to people that took me a very long time to figure that, to really put this piece together. We've shared before, like giving clients programs and giving them the diet and saying, follow this, and then them not seeing results. And then you as a trainer going like, oh, they're just fucking lazy or they're not doing this. And then like blaming it on the clients and just going through one after another like that before realizing like, wow, I'm spending my time on the wrong things. I'm putting my energy and effort into these exercises and these crafty diets. Meanwhile, this person has a lot of stuff going on, via human psyche, and that needs to be addressed first before I'm ever going to give this person long-term results. And even if I got them to their weight loss, quote unquote, goal, it's probably inevitable that they're going to gain it all back, plus some, if they haven't addressed their psychological issues that got them to that place in the first place. So to me, this is everything. I think that you first have to shift your mindset before you really go after this. Otherwise, what ends up happening is the poor self-image that you have ends up driving poor behaviors that a lot of times end up setting you back even further.
Well, and you can only be negative about things for so long. You can only hate yourself for so long. Like before you just want to cram in what feels good, and this is where this like ebb and flow thing starts to happen, where we go, with clients, I'll get like amazing progress, but they're still driven by what's wrong with their body, and they're just still pressing themselves to the limits, and then they feel like they get there, and then oh god, I want to relax, I want to feel good again, and it's this quest to like feel good again. Because that was the end goal for them, was to get to a certain place where they felt like, well, I'm going to feel happy there. Instead of like addressing the real psychology there and like confronting that in the beginning. And yes, it might seem like a slower process, and it might seem like something that's just more work. But as you're going through that process, you learn to love yourself. You learn to appreciate the work that you're putting on your body, and that stays. That lasts.
Yeah, if you were to look at a pie chart of the important things that will affect someone's real success. When I say real success, I mean permanent. Okay, I don't mean I lost 30 pounds and gained it back. That's not successful. That's easy. I can have anybody do that. Real success has this person now fundamentally changed how they behave and treat themselves and eat and move and all those other things. And if you look at a pie chart of the most important factors that will determine their success, it's 100% their psyche. It's 100%. All of it. All of it revolves around that. Because what we're dealing with are human behaviors. And human behaviors take a long time to really change, because you have to understand why they are where they're at in the first place. And if you talk to any trainer who's been training for someone or who's been training people for 10 years or longer, what is most of your job and where do you find most of your success? They'll tell you, I feel like a therapist most of the time. And and it's true. Your job as a trainer, Your goal as a personal trainer should be to help your client develop a good relationship with their body, with exercise and nutrition. If you can get to that's the point that you want them to get to, because that was what's going to drive them to have long-term, forever success, not the short-term, right now success, and then, I bounce back. And this takes a long time, and it's a slow process, and everybody's a little bit different. When we talk about hating your body, and Justin's talking about people just want to do what feels good. When you talk to somebody who is motivated by hating themselves, like they look in the mirror like, oh, I'm disgusting. Oh, I need to go beat myself up. I need to go work out because I ate that pizza, and I can't believe I have terrible discipline. When you ask them about their nutrition and stuff, the way they'll respond is something like, they'll say things like, oh, I can't eat that. Oh, I can't do that anymore. I can't do that. And it's as if they've separated themselves into two people. Their tyrannical trainer self that's telling them you can't do that, and then their poor oppressed self, which is like, okay, I won't eat that cupcake. Okay, I won't do that. But you can only last like that for so long. At some point, you will identify with the person that's being oppressed, which is why people will say things like, I can't, I want to, but I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't. Right. And eventually they rebel. And what happens when you rebel? The needle swings in the opposite direction.
You go hard.
You go hard. It's not, oh, I'm eating better and I'll have the occasional cookie. It's, I've been eating a particular way. I can't eat cookies. I'm going to eat a whole package of cookies. Mm-hmm. Fuck it. I'm going off. I can't do this to myself anymore. How many times have you heard this? I just want to enjoy life. Of course they're saying that because the whole process that they've motivated themselves by is a hate, and that fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Life sucks. No way you're going to be successful long-term in that way. Of course, eventually at some point, you're going to want to enjoy life, because who wants to be in that constant state of self-hate all the time? Mm-hmm. So what you have to do is flip that on yourself. So you have to flip that and realize that I'm taking care of myself. So when I don't eat that cookie, for example, it's not because I can't, it's because I don't want to. Now, I may crave it. I may appreciate that it tastes good. I may know that I'm going to enjoy eating it. But that doesn't mean I want to, because I'm also weighing the other things that come along with that cookie. Well, it's not going to make me feel good, may affect my digestion poorly. It's calories I don't need. It's sugar that's going to make me hungrier and eat more food. So the reality is I acknowledge the taste, I acknowledge the craving, but I don't want that cookie. Mm-hmm. Way more empowering, way more powerful, and way more of a long-term strategy. And the same is true for working out. When people say, oh, I have to work out on Monday. I got to do my workout, like they're being forced or oppressed into it. Realize the reason why you're doing it is because you really want to. Create that relationship with exercise, and you'll find that you'll make time for it. Imagine if you're listening right now and you're having trouble with your you're going up and down in body weight and you're inactive and active. Think about it this way. If you enjoyed eating in a healthy way and you really enjoyed your workouts where you really wanted to do them, do you think you'd have this trouble? Of course not. Nope. So the key is to find how to get yourself to that point. Now, I do want to say this about body positive. Body positive is I think it's been warped a little bit.
Yeah, it has.
Just a little bit.
The reality is you can be objective about your body. You can look in the mirror and be like, wow, okay, I have a lot of body fat. My movement patterns aren't good. I haven't been treating myself well. Right. That doesn't mean your self-image is bad.
There's a difference between having a lot of fat and you are fat.
Right. You're not fat. You just have a lot of
you aren't fat, but yes, you do have a lot of fat. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging that.
Sure.
Like, I think that's the mistake that
there's room for improvement there.
Right. There's a lot of the positive way we used to say is you have a lot of stored energy. You have plenty of stored energy there that we need to use. I mean, but I think this whole body positive thing is changing this, embrace it, and it's okay to have all this stuff. I get the direction, because maybe the shaming had gone one way, and I think that's unhealthy and bad also. But there's also another side of being a realist and going listen, you haven't been serving yourself, you haven't been loving yourself, because you do have an excess of 50, 60, 100 plus pounds of body fat on you. Doesn't mean that you are fat, just means you have lots of fat, lots of stored energy on you that you should be using.
That's it. And again, you can separate your self-image from your body image. Just remember, it doesn't make you less of a human. It doesn't mean you deserve less love or you deserve less respect or less dignity, especially from yourself. It's very important to have self-empathy. But that with self-empathy comes responsibility. If you're truly being empathetic to yourself, and you're looking in the mirror, you're saying, oh man, you know what? I haven't been taking care of myself. And I know I haven't been taking care of myself, and I understand what's happened. And these have been difficult times for me, or this has been something I haven't paid attention to. But, and again, in the light of being empathetic with yourself, you can say to yourself, but starting today, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to take care of myself in the truest sense. I'm going to take care of myself as if I were taking care of someone that I truly cared about. And then watch and see how that moves you and directs you throughout your life. You will make mistakes. You will stumble. Just like, I take care of my children and I love them. Do you think I'm perfect every single day as a parent? Of course not. But what's driving me is the fact that I care about them. So I know that the decisions that I'll make are ultimately going to be better than they are worse. And that's how you have to treat yourself. And understand that that's the most important thing, and that it's a slow fucking process. So again, if you're empathetic with yourself and you know where you're at, you can say to yourself, realistically, okay, my body's 50 pounds overweight. I haven't been taking care of myself. I'm going to start taking care of myself today. But I also know how I've been living before. So moving forward, what's realistic for me to do right now? Like, what's something that I know I can do right now and really take care of myself right now and do consistently? And that may mean I'm going to just eat a serving of vegetables every day. Or that may mean
I'm not sitting as much.
Yeah, I'm going to do a 10-minute walk every day. That may mean I'm going to drink one less glass of soda and replace that with water. And you do that slowly over a period of time, again, motivated by self-care, and you will achieve long-term, forever success. And remind yourself, that's what you want. You want to have a better quality of life. You don't just want to be thinner. And with that, if you go to mindpumpfree.com, you can check out some of our free guides. We have quite a few of them. I think there's 11 or 12 on there now.
Oh, it's closer to 15 now.
Is it really? Okay, so some of them are like how to work on your midsection, how to develop your better squat, how to work on your shoulders, your arms, legs. Lots of free guides. Get them all. They cost nothing. Again, it's at mindpumpfree.com.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.